And we are live. Welcome to the Christian Whistleblower channel. I'm so happy to have you with us. We're coming to you live from an undisclosed location deep in the heartland of America, to your hearts, I hope. I am deep in the heart of Kansas. Kansas is Oz. I'm a wizard, so I guess you could say I'm the Wizard of Oz, only it's different this time, ladies and gentlemen. We're not taking you to the Emerald City. We're taking you to the city of enlightenment. And there's no curtains here, folks. Come on back. Let the wizard show you how it's done. Wall to wall, treetop tall. This is how you unindoctrinate yourself, guide your own spirit, master your own ascension, be your own guru. I hope that you saw good greetings to you in North Dakota. I hope you saw the special show yesterday at a special time with Martin Geddes. That was a great last stand. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, please do take advantage of it. Today, I'm going to blow your mind. Of course, I typically blow your mind every time. And yet today is going to be even more so, because as I was going through this, I thought, boy, there's just no way. These are blue blocker glasses as I sit in front of a computer all day long, and it helps my eyes tremendously. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about the Tower of Babel. I've entitled this Back to Babel, the First Exodus ? Because, ladies and gentlemen, what we're about to discover today is amazing. And it is so enlightening and so revealing that, I mean, it's just almost amazing. I mean, it almost beggars description, as Jimmy Swaggart would say. It beggars description, and it almost does. And there's no, we might as well just get down to it. We might as well just jump right in. We're going to go to the story of the Tower of Babel, ladies and gentlemen. It is in Genesis chapter 11. And again, we use this because we know that the Bible does contain some diamonds, but mainly we do this because the Bible is the enemy's game plan. It shows what they've done to us, and it shows what they want to attempt to do to us in the future. So we are disarming them, and we are arming ourselves. To be forewarned is to be forearmed. So the whole earth, ladies and gentlemen, was of one language. And I promise you that we could do an entire program just on this verse, because the implications of this are staggering. It says, now the whole world, ladies and gentlemen, and I want you to look at this. We're going right into the Greek, or excuse me, this would be Hebrew because it's the Old Testament. The whole, all. And what we've got to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that when it says all, it means all. The completeness of the whole, the completeness of the all, everything that was present where? In the world. What's the world? The earth, the land in this particular context. So are you getting the implication? Everything, all things, ladies and gentlemen, both great and small, that were in the world. We're talking all the things in the world. What things are in this world, ladies and gentlemen? We have insects in this world. We have rodents in this world. We have, deer in this world, and woodchucks chucking wood. And we've got all sorts of cats and dogs. And we've got, cows. And we've got all sorts of animals in this world. Oh, yeah. And by the way, we have people too. We have humans too. And the thing you have to understand is there's probably more than one hominid species, ladies and gentlemen, in the world at this time. So the whole world, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in it had one single common one, emphasizing that it was all, and all had one what? One way of speech, one way of words, one way of dabar, which means to speak, to communicate. So do you understand the import of what this is saying? It is saying that at the time of the events of this Tower of Babel, or the time that they're trying to portray of these events, because it probably isn't a literally true story, but at that time, everything on the whole earth had a common way to communicate. Dr. Doolittle, if you're old, you know who that is, was not the first man to talk to the animals. We all talk to the animals. We talk to the trees, I believe. We talk to all of creation. All of creation communicated with one another. All of creation communicated, ladies and gentlemen, with one another. Did not the serpent communicate with man in Genesis chapter 2? Yes, it did. Why was that just taken as normal by Adam and Eve in the story? Because it was. All communication. And here's a thought that just dropped on me. Boom. Why do you think the Lord didn't want Adam and Eve? Remember, he said about the tree of life and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. He didn't say just don't eat from them. I might show you this. He didn't say just don't eat from them. He said don't even touch the tree. Don't even touch the tree. Do you remember him saying that? He said don't even touch the tree. Genesis chapter 3, verse number 3. Let me show you this, and this just dropped into my mind. He said, but of the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden, that's two trees, tree of knowledge of good and evil, tree of life, don't even eat it, don't touch it. Don't even touch it. Don't touch it, don't reach for it. How do you make sure that you don't touch something? How do you make sure that you stay out of reach of it, don't you? The Lord was telling man to stay completely away from the tree of life. He was telling man to stay completely away from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Why? Because the trees talked. And if they would have come close enough to touch, if they'd have come close enough to reach out, they would have learned the knowledge of the tree of life. They would have learned the knowledge of the tree of the good and evil. Because just like the serpent, just like the verse shows us, and this is Revelation, this isn't necessarily Diamond, but this is Revelation, because everything in creation communicated. Now it makes sense why the Lord didn't want man approaching the tree of life, because he didn't want him to learn the secrets of life. Now it makes sense why he didn't want him approaching the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, because he would find out that the Lord was evil and man was intrinsically good. You couldn't have that. And that's why he went out of his way to put a guard on the trees. He was going to kill people rather than let them hear the message of the trees. And I have to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, today, as we move back, hopefully, into higher spirituality. And I tell you what, I'm almost done with the truth movement as a whole, because I think it's nothing more than entertainment. The truth movement is where the Pentecostal charismatic movement was when I got the hell out of it. And I'm this close. I think that this weekend at Contact in the Desert is going to be a watershed event for me. I'm just saying. But as we approach even personally higher forms of spirituality, we should again begin to communicate with all of nature. Jay Campbell said it the other day, and I don't know what he was in reference to, but he said, try for 3 days talking to your dog or your cat or your bird or whatever pet you have like they understand you. Ladies, you should try talking to your husband for 3 days as if he can really understand you. It'll change your life. That's asking a lot. Probably better luck with the dog. But if you do that, I think that it turns something on. It turns something on in you, turns something on in the animal. It's just getting back what we've already got and reminding ourselves of what we already had, ladies and gentlemen. You have given me new eyes on the Bible, Jeff. Well, thank you, Jamie's Torch. That's what I am here for. Maria communicates with her deaf dog, Tracy Dyer. Is that your husband? Is that an analogy for your husband, or is it really a deaf dog? And Tracy talks to her dog, always talk to her dog. It sounds like the poor dog has gone the way of all dogs because he did understand her. Trees hold the world's DNA. They store it. They keep it in record for all, says Angelina Seven Love. Autumn Cardona says, I do. And the animals and plants, they all say I'm crazy, but my yard is full of animals. My tomatoes were over 7 feet last year. That's what happens when you talk and communicate. Faith says her dog understands. Fana Everything says animals work in telepathy. Chance Briggs says, when the deception left my eyes, I noticed animals in a different light. And Chance, it's so weird you say that. Two Trees speaks to cats. The kids are jealous that Autumn talks to the dogs more than she does. Chance, when I became much more aware in my spirituality, Rooney, the new cosmic kitten, you're all aware of him, he ceased being a pet and began to be a friend. And it's so, and that just almost a wave of emotion, because it's so, I didn't block you from commenting, Jennifer, but if you're feeling like saying something that's going to get you blocked, I could do it right now. Oh my, Shirley McLean says that her dog is the love of her life. That might get a little weird, but I get what she's saying. Charlie says that his cats use the buddy system to get fed. I know all about that. So let's move on. See, I told you we could stay a whole time right here. But the whole world had one language and one common form of speech. And let's go ahead and get back into the text. Let me make sure I didn't leave anything out of my notes, because I have voluminous notes on this. No, the whole world, all of creation, even animals, the serpent, the trees were communicating. It was normal. And what this shows, I'm glad I looked at this. What this shows, ladies and gentlemen, is remember in Genesis 3, where the Lord, this shows you how impotent the Lord is. That's right, I said it. The Lord is impotent. This shows you that the Lord doesn't really have any power. That's right, I said it. The Lord doesn't have any power. If you're a Christian and you're here today, the Lord is nothing but a big, fat, ugly bully. And I think he is ugly. I really, literally, physically think he's ugly through studies of words and meanings. And he is a big, fat, he might not be fat. He's a big bully. He probably is fat. He's a big, fat bully with a bad haircut. And he doesn't have any power. He only has power because you think he has power. He's the bully on the playground that keeps taking your lunch money and keeps pushing you around until you turn around and punch him right in the face. And then he cries like a girl and leaves you alone. That's the Lord. And this is proof, because this is Genesis 11. And the whole world still had a common communication, the animals, the trees, the birds, the people. And in Genesis chapter 3, he said, I will put enmity between you and the serpent. I will curse the ground for your sake. It didn't take. Because in Genesis 11, who knows how many years later that was, it was still working. They were still communicating. He is impotent. He is powerless. He's nothing but Charlie Manson. If he can't get somebody to do his wet work for him, he's impotent. Why are you still doing his wet work for him? I'm glad I looked at my notes. That's a good one. They had one speech. All of creation communicated. Man, animals, even trees. And then it says when they journeyed eastward. Let's go ahead and move on. Whoops. Let's go ahead and move on. When they journeyed eastward. And I want you to notice something, ladies and gentlemen. When you journey eastward and you wind up in Shinar, Shinar is Babylon. And you can pull this up on any map and look. If you travel from the east and you wind up in Shinar, or you wind up in Babylon, and an interesting thing, too, that shows that the Lord is impotent. Remember in Genesis chapter 2, I should probably show this to you. In Genesis chapter 3, actually, I think I'm going to show this to you. Remember we're in Genesis 11. So let's go to Genesis chapter 3. I want to show you something. I'm not going to get nearly through this, but in Genesis chapter 3, the Lord is pitching a temper tantrum, and he is pitching a temper tantrum. I'm getting some great communication from some of my friends in the chat room and in the comments, but I just can't look at it right now. What did he say? Where's my train of thought? Oh, yeah. So he took them. They were open, right? The Lord came down, got mad at them. The Lord told them, you're in really big trouble. And then the Lord sent them and put them into, watch this. It said he sent them forth from the Garden of Eden. And he drove the man, and he sent them into a garden east of Eden. Watch this. Now, why would he take it from one garden to another garden? Because gardens aren't what you think they are. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. 23. Garden. So the Lord drove him from the garden. Think in your mind right now what you think a garden is. Think in your mind right now what you think the Garden of Eden is. Oh, it's so nice. It's like Snow White with the birds and the little animals. No, cousin, it's not. You've been sold a fear and guilt control matrix. You're in Stockholm Syndrome. Look what a garden is. A garden is an enclosure. A garden is an enclosure, ladies and gentlemen. A garden is an enclosure. It's a place that you're locked into. So he took them from the Garden of Eden and put them to work in another garden. He put them to work in another garden. You're trapped. And let's go back to Genesis 11. You're stuck in the garden that was east of Eden. You're stuck in that garden. Let's go back to Genesis 11. But my point is that they weren't stuck in the garden. They got out of the garden that the Lord tried to put them into. They got out of that garden and they journeyed eastward. They journeyed eastward. And if you go and they went east and wound up in Babylon. So that means they came from the west. You know what's west of Babylon? Egypt. Ooh, Egypt. I'm working on this, and I know this is craziness, and I know you think I've lost it, but what if Egypt, the Egypt that we know, the pharaohs, the pyramids, the high magic, the high knowledge, what if Egypt was Genesis chapter 1? And what if the destruction between Genesis 1 and 2 happened to Egypt? What if the plagues of Egypt were the Lord destroying it between Genesis 1:1 and 1:2, back when he still had some juice? And what if the darkness hovering upon the face of the deep really referred to the Nile? And what if he's didn't kill everybody and some of them went eastward and wound up where? They wound up in Babylon. So that would mean that they weren't really captives in Egypt. That's a made-up story. It would mean that they weren't really delivered by God, by the Lord. That's a made-up story. And it would mean that the Babylonian captivity wasn't captivity because they went there by themselves, of their own accord. Still studying that, but rather interesting to ponder, is it not? So as they journeyed eastward, they found a plain, which really means like a mountain valley. They found a beautiful valley. They found a beautiful place to live, and they settled there. They settled there. They remained there. They dwelt there. You get the sense from the language that they were fleeing the Lord, had enough of his ways, said, we're leaving, we're out of here. They left Egypt and went into Babylon and settled there. You know, people have a debate within the esoteric community. People have a debate within, and I'm going so slowly here. We're not going to get through nearly any of this. But people have a debate between the debate is, did the high esoteric wisdom come from Egypt or did it come from Babylon? Did the deepest, most esoteric and occult, meaning hidden knowledge and wisdom, did it come from Eden or did it come from Egypt or did it come from Babylon? And I know people are speculating, well, is east of Eden the right brain? Why take it to that level now? Why not just stay with the text? That's an interesting conjecture. It's an interesting personal corollary that you're drawing. But let's stay with the text right now. And east of Egypt is Babylon. So what if the answer is, did the high wisdom come from Egypt or Babylon? What if the answer is yes? Did the highest esoteric knowledge come from Egypt or Babylon? What if the answer is yes? What if it was the same people that left Egypt with the high knowledge and the high wisdom and went to Babylon, Shinar? Interesting stuff, huh? And just to show you that this wasn't people being rescued by some god or driven out by somebody or led and dependent upon some god, watch what they did. Verse number 3 says, and this will blow your mind, and it just shows you how completely deceptive the interpretation of the translators of the King James Version is. And they said to one another, they sat down, they talked with each other, or maybe they just telepathically communicated. And when it says one another, with our understandings of verse 1, this probably doesn't mean just humans. This probably doesn't mean just humans, ladies and gentlemen. This probably doesn't mean just humans. All of creation got together and said, let us make, watch this, this will blow your mind. Let us make bricks. Okay. So we're thinking that they're out there making bricks. Boom, 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 boom. And it's interesting. What did they do in Egypt? I'll wait for it. They made bricks. It's the same damn people. That was another little knowledge drop right there. They made bricks in Egypt. What are they doing here? Making bricks. And it's the same bricks that they were making in Egypt. And they weren't used to build no pyramids, because watch this. We got notes on top of notes on this one, cousins, because this is deep stuff. This isn't pick a verse and use it to justify what I want to say. This is, what does the text say? Because the text doesn't care what you've been taught. And the text doesn't care what you believe. And the text doesn't care what your favorite YouTube personality says either. Because they were here, the text was here long before we were. Okay. As he sips on his iced tea and says, they went to Shinar, which is Babylon. Life begins at Babylon and in Egypt. It gives us a whole new perspective on Babylon. Oh, and I need to share this with you too. So they went to Babylon. They fled the Lord and went to Babylon. And as I was doing this last night or early this morning, I thought, no wonder the Lord is so down on Babylon. Have you ever noticed that the Lord hates Babylon? Have you ever noticed that in 1 Peter 5:14? Well, that's not a good example. Revelation 18:21. Watch this. Remember, we're in Genesis 11. So we're going to go to Revelation 18. And why does the Lord hate Babylon so? Revelation 18. Well, because it's evil, wicked. Get yourself out of the fear and guilt control matrix. Get yourself out of the mind meld. Why does the Lord hate Babylon so much? Let's look at verse 21. Why does he hate Babylon? The great city of Babylon will be cast down, never to be seen again. Oh, boom, another revelation live. Holy mackerel. The city of Babylon. That's what we're talking about. Let us build. Didn't we just say, let us build ourselves a city? Where? In Babylon. The Tower of Babel is The city of Babylon. Oh, that's revelation knowledge. I am sitting here stunned. I am beside myself. I am stunned. Because that doesn't come from me. That comes from the anointing. That comes from the consecration. That comes from being in the flow. That comes from the knowledge of the divine just flowing through me. I'm just a tool. Like they say, I'm just a clone. Daugherty's just a robot. Well, in this case, I am. Oh, man. No, Babylon's not the Catholic Church. Babylon, they want us to think it's the Catholic Church. If it's the Catholic Church and the Catholic Church is the Lord's buddy, why would he want it to be cast down so much? It's not the Catholic Church. The great city of Babylon is the Tower of Babel and that which happened at the Tower of Babel. Stay with me. That's why he hates Babylon so much, ladies and gentlemen. Acts, and what is 1 Peter 5:14 about Babylon? These are all the appearances of Babylon in the New Testament. 1 Peter 5:14. What did he have to say about Babylon? As I recall, it wasn't that bad. What did he say about Babylon? Oh, yeah. The Lord hates Babylon. Hates it. It will be destroyed. What does Peter say about Babylon? To the church, which is the called out ones. The churches and the people, watch this. What is the church? Oh, I can't get to it. I got to back up. What is the church? This is powerful stuff, ladies and gentlemen. You've never heard this before because it probably hasn't been proclaimed in thousands and thousands of years. That doesn't make me special. That makes me available. So that's the church. We're not talking about any church. We're not talking about any group. We're talking about the church, the ecclesia, the called out ones, ladies and gentlemen. So Peter was greetings to the ecclesia, the chosen ones in Babylon. Very interesting. The Lord hates Babylon. Peter is sending greetings and kind salutations to Babylon. Acts chapter 7, verse 43. It was really early when I did these. I don't remember exactly what I wrote down because I don't make good notes sometimes. I just write it down and put a big asterisk next to it. Okay, must be important. Acts chapter 7, verse 43. And that needs to be repeated. When I have these great revelations, that doesn't mean I'm great. Doesn't mean I'm wonderful. Doesn't mean I'm special. It means I'm available. And I'm impartial. Acts 7:43. Oh, look at this, ladies and gentlemen. Look at this. It's a threat from the impotent Lord. And it ties right back to what we're talking about. Because you went and served Moloch, other gods. You went and served Raphan, other gods. Gods beside me. You made idols to worship. Therefore, says the Lord, I'll carry you away beyond Babylon. This is what happens as we get into the book of Genesis. I'm going to take you even further beyond Babylon. You wanted to stay in Babylon, but I carry you. I pick you up in a spaceship. I transport you beyond Babylon. That's the end of what happens at the Tower of Babel. That's a preview peek, ladies and gentlemen. He wants to carry us away beyond Shinar. And then the last one I wrote down was Revelation 11 and 8. See what that says. Glad I looked back at my notes. Revelation 11 and 8. Oh, man, this is so good. Remember, I was talking about, well, did they come from Egypt? And they, watch this. Figuratively, Sodom and Egypt. So not only does he hate Babylon, he hates Egypt. Why? Because Egypt and Babylon are the sources of true spirituality. Egypt and Babylon are the sources of true human freedom. Egypt and Babylon are the sources and the spirit of the true place where we broke from him. And let me show you what we did. Come on, man. Let me show you what we did. Let us make brick. You think that means let us make some bricks? You think they were in Israel or they were in Egypt making bricks? No, they were not in Egypt making bricks. What were they doing? What were they doing? They were getting double purified. Jeff, you got to show me that one. Well, you know I'm going to. No need to be cross. We cross. Watch this. Let us make. What does make mean? Brick. No. What does it really mean? To be white. What am I wearing? A white shirt. Is this a brick I got on me? No, it's a white shirt. So they want you to think they're making bricks. What were they doing? They were making themselves white. What? Let us make bricks. Let's look at it again. They say it twice. Let us make it white. Let us make ourselves white. Let us make ourselves pure. What were they doing? They were trying to make themselves thoroughly pure. That's what they were doing. That's why the Lord hates Babylon. That's why the Lord hates Egypt, because this was the place where we learned how to make ourselves pure, ladies and gentlemen. This is how we learned to make ourselves pure. And let's just say it was a brick. Okay, let's just say it's a white brick. White brick, a white tile. This is how much the Lord hates Babylon. He hates Babylon so much, remember in Genesis 11, that he wants to fake it. He wants to present a falsification of what happened at Babylon. Watch this. They went and they made themselves, if you want to look at it this way, I think it means they made themselves pure. But let's say it does mean that they made themselves white rocks. Watch this. Revelation chapter 2. That's the real thing of people making themselves white rocks. What happens in Revelation 2:17? The Lord falsifies it. And I got people copying me every day, and I realize that the highest form of flattery is, what is it? Imitation. Even if it's ill-intentioned imitation, it's still imitation and it's still high flattery. We've already made our own white stones. We don't need the Lord's help. But what's he want to do? He wants to give you a white stone with a new name. He wants to usurp your authority to make yourself white and make yourself pure and say only he can do it. You don't need his white stones. We've already made our own. How much does he have to hate Babylon to completely fabricate it and copy it? Wow. That is very, very powerful stuff. So not only do we want, did we, and I say we because this is our forebearers. I won't say they because I think this is we. And if Mazdan were here, he'd say, remember Babylon, remember Babel. We did this. I'm going to wrap this up here pretty quick. We're not going to get through all of it. And we did this. We did this. Let us make ourselves white. Let us make ourselves white, and let's bake it. Let's burn it, and let's burn it thoroughly. What does that mean? It means to have a burning, to be on fire, to be turned up. Oh, I'm not even showing you this. I'll have to start showing you, sorry. But it's very easy to understand. They went to Babylon, to Shinar, to make themselves white, like this shirt, to make themselves pure, and to get themselves on fire, to get themselves burning with righteousness and the trueness of the original message. They were tired of the Lord. And they went to Babylon to get white again, to get pure again, and to get back on fire again, ladies and gentlemen. To get back on fire again with righteousness. And watch this. We already saw how he faked the white rocks. I want you to think it means a white rock when it really means they went to get right, they went to get clean, they went to get pure, and they went to get on fire. And then watch what he does in Isaiah 6:2. Isaiah 6:2. Whoops, that's Jeremiah. We don't want that. We want Isaiah. Isaiah 6. This is a little deep, but watch this. Isaiah 6, verse number 2. Watch this. There were seraphims, and the seraphims sit around the Lord's throne and tell him how good he is. What kind of a being needs to have beings that sit around and say, holy, holy, holy is the Lord. The whole earth is full of his glory. What kind of a being needs to have a being, a group of beings that sit around and tell him how good he is? Watch this. The Lord is so arrogant, so what's it called when you don't think you have any worth? So, I don't know the word right now, but we all know people like this. They have to have people worshiping them. They have to have people saying, you're great, you're wonderful, you're awesome. You're the best in the whole world. You're the greatest. What's the word I'm looking for, ladies and gentlemen? Put it in the chat room. There's insecure. That's what I'm looking for. They're so insecure. The Lord is so insecure. He's got to have these beings the whole time telling him how holy he is. 6 wings. 2 cover their face, 2 cover their feet, 2 they did fly. Narcissists. That's another good one. They got to have people tell them how holy they are. And look at what the word is, ladies and gentlemen. I got to show you this because this is what I came here to show you. This is deep stuff. They were what? They were seraphim. Look at that word, seraph. And remember what we did back in Genesis chapter 11 at the Tower of Babel? We don't need the Lord's stinking seraphs or seraphim because they're just a copy of what we done already did in our own lives. They are just a copy of what we done already did in our own lives, ladies and gentlemen. We made ourselves on fire, ladies and gentlemen. Do you remember what the word was about making ourselves on fire? What was that word? That burning, we want to make ourselves on fire. Where is it? Burn them thoroughly. Verse number 3. What was the word? Oh, yeah. Verse number 3. Bake them thoroughly. Seraph. How do you like me now? The Lord has seraphim. They're telling him he's great, he's wonderful, he's powerful. It's because he's insecure. We are our own fiery witness. We are our own fiery witness of ourselves. We don't need someone telling us how holy we are, how wonderful we are, how powerful we are, how special we are. We don't need that because we've already got our own. That's why we left the Lord. That's why we went to Babylon. That's why we went to Shinar. To make ourselves pure, get ourselves on fire, and know that we are holy, 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 or divine, sovereign, free. To know that we are the spark of divinity. We are connected to divinity. We are divinity. So watch this. So they used brick. Remember, they used brick. They used brick. They used Laban. Brick. They used this whiteness, this purity. We used purity instead of what? Instead of means we got rid of it, and we use that instead of stone. What stone? Get that con out of my face. We don't need your white stones. Lord, get your white stones out of our face. We don't need your new names. Get your new names out of our face. We don't want you. We don't need you. We're beyond you. I don't need your rocks. I don't need to play with your stones. We don't need your rocks. Why? Because we've already got our own internal, burning, fiery holiness connected to the holy fire that is the source of all. Not only do we not need that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap this up. Not only do we not need that, we use tar, ladies and gentlemen. We use tar. Let me make sure I'm not jumping ahead of myself. I got to go back a second. Because this is so powerful. We used brick. We used our own holiness instead of stone. Does stone bring anything to mind? How about Isaiah 28:16? We used our own holiness, our own righteousness given to us by our connection with divinity instead of what? Instead of Isaiah. And I'm going to lose some of you right here. Isaiah 28, verse 16. I lay in Zion for a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation, a sure foundation. We even sing songs about it. The Lord wants you to trust in his cornerstone. The Lord wants you to trust in his stones. Because when you do, when you buy his stones, when you get stoned with the Lord, your support for him will never be shaken. And that's what's happening right now. I'm showing you that, yes, the chief cornerstone. Oh, watch this. I got to show you this before I go on a rant. And this is it. You can't handle anymore. Watch this. Matthew 21:42. Man, I'm so available today. So available. I've never been so available. I used to say I've never been so good, but that's not true. I've never been so available. It's not about being good. It's about being available. That's some knowledge for you right there. Watch this. 42. And plastic Jesus said unto them, have you never read the scriptures? The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. The stone the builders rejected. What builders? We, the builders. And the Tower of Babel. We rejected his stone. Get that stone out of my face. We rejected it. We're the builders. We rejected the stone. But the stone we rejected is the cornerstone of his fear and guilt control matrix. Jeff, are you telling me I have to reject Jesus only if you want to be free? Jeff, are you telling me that I have to reject Jesus only if you want to be divine? Jeff, are you telling me I got to reject Jesus only if you want to be sovereign? Jeff, are you telling me I got to reject Jesus only if you want to ascend out of mortality? If you don't want to be divine, if you don't want to be sovereign, if you don't want to be free, if you want to live in mortality the rest of your life, then ask Jesus to come into your heart, let him possess you, and let his daddy possess you, and pray a blood covenant, and give him your soul, and stay in a mortality forever. It's safe. It's easy. You're being worked like a whore, but do it anyway because it's easy for you and you're lazy and you'd rather not have to do the work yourself because you don't want to have people disagree with you. You're intellectually incompetent, and it's easier for people that are intellectually incompetent to just go along with the program. But if you don't want to do that, and if you're not intellectually incompetent, reject his stone. Well, Jeff, how do you know? And they even tell you it's from the Lord. The cornerstone is from the Lord. When's the last time the Lord gave you a good thing? The stone is from the Lord. If it's from the Lord, reject it. And yet, it's too wondrous in your own little bitty twisted eyes. It's too marvelous in your little bitty twisted mind. You can't wrap your mind around it when it's so simple. You either take the Lord's stone or you act like a builder. A builder of what? The builders that we're talking about back here in the book of Genesis at the Tower of Babel. The builders that we're talking about, we are the builders. 2, 3, 4. That'll get us there. We're the builders. Let us build for ourselves. We don't need, instead of stone, we've rejected your stone. We've rejected it. We have rejected your stone. We don't want your stone. And I got to show you this. I got to show you this. And then we're going to get out of the way and let Wayne get ready. We've rejected your stone. And look what else we rejected. I actually got through almost all of this. Look what else we rejected. And we're rejecting and we're going to use tar. What is tar? What is tar? It really means to boil up, to ferment, to boil over. What happens when you get on fire? You start boiling, right? You start getting it. So we use our fire, our boiling up, our boiling over. We use that instead of what? We use that instead of mortar. What's mortar? You won't believe this when you see it. Clay. Clay. What did the Lord fashion these mud hut bodies out of? Clay. Get that clay out of our face. We don't want your stones. We got our own righteousness and our own fire. We don't want your clay. We're boiling up out of that clay. We're coming out of these mud hut bodies that you've trapped us in. We're tired of them. We're tired of them. Rise up out of the clay to be who and what we really are. And they've had you believing that the Tower of Babel is a story about bad people getting disciplined by a good God. It's about a bad God getting his ass kicked by good people. And like Thomas Jefferson said, a little ass kicking every now and then is a good thing. He actually said a little rebellion every now and then is a good thing. You can't handle any more of this. Not today. There's a little more, but we'll come back with it tomorrow. I don't even know what to say other than, wow. Wow. This is how you guide your own spirit. This is how you master your own ascension. This is how you be your own guru. This is how you ask questions and question answers. This is what it's like to be the last generation of real humans and have the stones to act like it. Watch this a few times. See who you are. Decide who you are. If you're with us, we need your help. If you're against us, that's okay. Move to the side and let us pass through because we got business to do. We're the last generation of real humans. And cousins, we are here to get busy.